The entire farm law controversy has spread bitterness all around. It was possible for avoiding this controversy, especially the showdown with farmers. Before promulgating the three ordinances, the government could have gained the farmers' trust through discussions on the various aspects of the intended farm laws. Any suspicions regarding the role of big corporate houses in usurping the farmlands or monopolizing entire farming sector could have been removed by offering convincing guarantees. Unfortunately, these genuine fears were not taken seriously, and the farm laws were sought to be rammed down the farming community's throat through brute majority in the parliament. And the government should have known, the head of the government is an experienced politician who was formerly chief minister of a state and for a very long period. And he should have known that not every legislation, however legally correct it might have been, may be acceptable to the concerned stakeholders. Democracy is not about parliamentary lawmaking but participative decision making. Our elected representatives are supposed to represent our aspirations in the temple of democracy and not behave as our Mai Baap. PM Modi had hoped to take corporatization of agriculture to the next level with the help of the three laws that succeeded the three ordinances. And what were those ordinances? First was the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Ordinance 2020. Apparently, this ordinance sought to provide, or even now the law, it seeks to provide the farmer with more options for selling his stuff and thus strengthen the farmer's bargaining power. The second ordinance, called the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Ordinance 2020, was supposed to aim at preventing glut in the market and enabling a more even spread of the supply throughout the year. The third ordinance, the Essential Commodities Amendment Ordinance 2020, aimed at providing for a pro forma contract between the farmer and the buyer of his produce to put all the terms and conditions of the deal in black and white. This would apparently do away with the farmer's dependence on the commission agent. But the farmers suspected that despite the positive spin, the government intended to give big corporate buyers a free hand to dictate terms to the farmers in the absence of a legislated minimum support price regime. This is what even now the farmers are demanding. Their demand for the MSP, or the minimum support price, was rejected by the government. Even now, the government is reluctant to accede to this demand, thus forcing the farmers to continue with their peaceful protests. And this is something we should note, that the protests have been peaceful despite minor incidents here or there. So, how will it affect the overall agricultural scenario in the country? Corporatization should not be the primary motive of agricultural reforms. There is a need for fashioning procurement and distribution models in the different states according to the ground realities in each state. We have got a vast variety of terrain, right from the seashores of the south and west and east to right to the Himalayan heights of the north. And then there are plains, and then there are plateaus, and we have and similarly the produce too is varied, and you cannot have one formula for all the uh, agricultural produce everywhere because different regions specialize in different types of agricultural products. Provision for minimum support prices for different farm products should be made by law in each state respectively to ensure better management of demand and supply. The private sector needs to play a facilitating role and not that of a master. The announcement to roll back the three farm laws has placed the Samyukta Kisan Morcha, the umbrella organization of various farmers' unions agitating against the three farm laws, in a very strong position to bargain for legislating of minimum support price for major, if not all, farm products. There is certainly a need for an improved regimen of farm production and distribution. Market regulation procedures need to be recalibrated. It may not be possible to do away with farm subsidies altogether. Whether these are inputs like power supply, irrigation, fertilizers, and insecticides, or issues relating to pricing, storage, and distribution of farm produce, the farmers will demand a better deal. A more responsive regime will have to be far superior to what the FCI had and agricultural mandi boards have been offering. Having said this, let us be very clear that the rural economy will remain the bedrock of our national economic development. There is a need to focus on improving the lot of village dwellers, be they farmers, artisans, or farm workers, etc. The three ordinances were promulgated when the country was caught in the COVID-19 crisis. It was perhaps hoped that not much attention would be paid to the ordinances. The government spin doctors and the obliging media were already presenting the fait accompli as an unadulterated blessings for the farmers. Moreover, given the seemingly unbridgeable divisions among various farmers' unions in the country, the government had hoped for a tepid protest at best. But soon major and minor farmer union leaders from western UP, Punjab and Haryana closed ranks and posed a formidable challenge to the government. There were some minor hiccups and some serious setbacks during the agitation or the peaceful protest, like the Republic Day flag fiasco or the murder of a Dalit Sikh by Nihangs. But thanks to the farmers' leadership epitomized by Rakesh Tikait, the protesters remained steadfast in their resolve. With elections in Punjab and UP approaching, the BJP started worrying about the consequences of this stalemate. Worse, the Sikh peasantry that had contributed to the defeat of the Khalistan movement in the 80s and 90s appeared to be getting alienated from the mainstream thanks to some hugely stupid remarks by the BJP propaganda machine. Calling the protesters Khalistanis, agents of China and Pakistan, etc., irritated the non-Sikh protesters in equal measure. They too were clubbed together with the anti-national elements, supposedly anti-national. I'm sorry, they were not anti-national. They are our compatriots. They pointed out that the three regions were major contributors. The farm leaders, the leaders of the farmers, the spokespersons of the farmers pointed out that the three regions of Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP were major contributors of manpower to the Indian armed forces, and they would not tolerate any slur on their patriotism. It was time for some quick decision making before the nascent controversy snowballs into a major national issue. PM Modi announced the rollback of the three laws. This he had to do. He was left with no alternative. This will not in any manner diminish or refurbish the PM's image, but it certainly takes major pressure off him during election eve campaigning in UP. But in Punjab, at best, the BJP can hope to have informal tie-ups with the Shiromani Akali Dal and Captain Amarinder Singh's party to stave off challenges from the AAP and Congress parties. After the Sidhu episode and Amarinder Singh's exit, the Congress party will find it tough to retain its position in Punjab, and AAP may be the unwitting beneficiary. It is the stupidity of the Congress leaders to attempt to uproot Amarinder Singh via Sidhu so near to the state elections, the state legislative elections. It goes without saying that if the farmers continue with their protests, the BJP's prospects in UP will dip spectacularly. Given Yogi Adityanath's rising unpopularity in the state, one may well see the Samajwad Party back in the saddle. However, in the national political context, two factors have emerged. The farm lobby is going to become stronger and will seek a greater role in agriculture related decision making. There is every chance of an increased assertion in the formation of governments, at least in the Commonwealth, if not nationally. However, the snowballing effect cannot be ruled out in other states as well, right up to down south. It can affect because there were protests even in Kerala. Governments in the state as well as the center need to be more careful while legislating any law. Modi's rollback should be taken as a lesson. No legislation will be successful without support from the related stakeholders. Today it is farmers, tomorrow it may be factory workers. Muscular governance just does not work in the 21st century India. Participative democracy is the name of the game. Thank you for being with me. I'll come back with another episode soon. Bye till then.